In this video, I'm going to guide you through a step-by-step process for creating a thriving food forest. This is the process we've used to grow organic food, regenerate the land, and transform our lives by rewilding both our backyard and ourselves. Along the way, it's inspired others, even our cats, to rewild too. If you feel a deep calling to live in harmony with nature, grow nourishing food, and step into a life of abundance and joy, then this video is for you. Starting a food forest can be overwhelming because they're complex and they last a really long time. They require time, effort, and often money, and it feels like you have to have it all perfectly planned out before you start. And that's the problem, and why so many food forests are lost to the study of theory and planning. The truth is, this journey isn't all about food. It's about you and who you're called to become. Growing plants is simply the path, and the food forest is a byproduct of your transformation. Expect nature to challenge you. Be prepared to give and give and give, and finally, one day, in return for your courage and dedication, your food forest will begin to nourish you, inspire you, educate you, and heal wounds you didn't even know you had. Stay focused on your vision. Spend time every day imagining and tuning in to what you're called to create and who you seek to become in the process. Hold the vision in your mind and then start small and allow nature to show you the way. It's very helpful to have your vision captured in a design to help you plan ahead and avoid having to change things later. It's helpful to map out elements and sectors that can't be changed. For example, you can't change the path of the sun, so observe its path throughout the year and how the shade moves throughout the day. Map it and design for it. Gather data about your climate and design for rainfall capture, wind mitigation, and wildlife corridors. It's important to be able to move easily through your food forest to prune, harvest, and irrigate. Map out your access points and paths in advance. For more information on designing, I recommend watching my video, How I Design My Food Forest, linked above and below. However, be careful. Don't fall for the trap of endlessly perfecting your design and studying theory. Instead, get hands-on experience by starting with a broad design that outlines the overall vision for your food forest without getting caught up in all the details like every single plant. Then choose one specific area of your design and plant your first guild there. A guild is a mini ecosystem. Think of a guild as a building block of a food forest. Essentially, a food forest is a bunch of guilds arranged together in an efficient way. I'll explain this a little more in a bit. Once you've created and maintained a guild for an entire season, you'll have gained so many valuable insights that will shape and refine the rest of your design as it grows and evolves. There are different strategies for starting a food forest, but this one, starting with a single guild, is really good for beginner gardeners. This approach is going to reduce cost, flatten the learning curve, remove the overwhelm, and allow you to focus on a small selection of plants and get better at gardening before expanding your food forest. First, select where you're going to plant your first guild, and then spend time connecting with and observing that space in more detail. Create a base map of this space, then document your observations. How much sun does this space get throughout the year and throughout the day? How cold does it get in this spot, and how hot? How can you direct water into this area? Are there gophers or deer that your plants will need protection from? What's the shape of the land? Is it sloped? Is there erosion that could be stopped by reshaping the earth? How will you access this space? Where will your paths go? I like paths that are wide enough to maneuver around my wheelbarrow, and growing beds that aren't wider than my reach, as I don't want to step into them and compact the soil or smush plants. Take a soil sample and analyze the soil texture. Is it mostly sand, clay, silt, or a combination, which we call loam? Is it moist and fertile, or is it dry and devoid of life? I have resources linked below to help you analyze your soil in more depth, because knowing your soil type is very important for the next step. There are 3 things I consider when it comes to selecting plants: form, function, and favorability. And by favorability, I mean, does it favor the conditions already present on your site? Almost every gardening book I've ever read suggests that you should only grow food that you already eat. And I disagree. For one, there's a lot of things you could probably grow very easily that you've never seen at the grocery store. Grocery store produce accounts for less than 1% of the thousands of edible plants that exist, so get ready to grow and eat things you've never even heard of. And secondly, much of the food we're used to eating can be challenging to grow, and that's because it's often bred to be sweet and tender and visually appealing, leaving it without natural defenses against pests. Take collard greens, for example. I never bought them at the grocery store growing up because they weren't part of my diet. They're tough and bitter. But here at Goldifarms, collard greens are thriving, and when I eat them consistently, I notice that my skin literally glows. So allow your preferences and your lifestyle to change and grow based on what you're able to produce in your food forest, because that changes year after year. There's really 2 main reasons you want to start off by selecting plants that will do well in the conditions you already have. The first is because you'll be more successful at growing something which will bring you joy. And the second is because life begets life. New research reveals that plant exudates may be up to 5 times more effective at building healthy soil than simply adding organic material like compost. Root exudates provide easily digestible energy for soil microorganisms, or microbes. The leaves of plants capture sunlight and carbon dioxide, and they convert it into sugars, amino acids, and lots of other compounds that they use to grow. But about half of these compounds they excrete into the soil as exudates, which attract and are eaten up by soil microbes. So building healthy soil by adding organic material is good, it's very important. But then growing something in that soil is even better. So right now, if your property is full of weeds, congratulations, you are building healthy soil. Even better, you can replace these weeds with cover crops or perennial plants, as perennials actually excrete even more exudates than annuals. And I like perennials because you plant them once and enjoy them for years. So not every plant in your food forest will be a plant for you to eat. In fact, many of the plants you see here are helping our fruits and veggies by secreting exudates into the soil. You can also select plants for other functions, such as medicinal plants, timber plants, dye plants, and even plants for soap. You can also grow plants that attract pollinators, deter pests, fix nitrogen, accumulate biomass, and plants that keep your ground covered and feed the soil with exudates. We also select plants based on their form. This includes their size and growth habits. It takes a while for layers to really fill in, but here in this shot you can see we have a tall tree, a small tree, shrubs, vines, and ground cover, all in one small space. I've included a link to my Guild Plant Selection Guide in the description below. This guide will help you gather important information on plant form, function, and favorable growing conditions. Real quick, I just want to say that much of this work is made possible through the sale of our Goldie Glow skin cream and other products that we handcraft from the calendula we grow here at Goldifarms. If you're looking for the perfect holiday gift, consider the gift of vitality with our Goldie Glow skin cream. A link is in the description below. Planting is where the magic happens. It's an opportunity to connect with the earth and collaborate with the plants to bring your dream to life. I like to use a measuring tape to space plants based on their mature size. So in the beginning, the garden may seem sparse, but in a few years, the plants will fill in. I like to allow for a little bit of overlap as that looks more natural and keeps the soil shaded. You can plant sun-loving annuals like veggies and flowers in the spaces between your trees and shrubs while they're still young. Dig a shallow but wide hole. The exact size will vary depending on your soil and plants, but a good rule of thumb is about 2 to 4 times wider than the container and just slightly deeper. This is another reason why I prefer to buy plants in small containers. Amend the soil and create a little berm around the plant to direct water to the root ball, and water it in well. Ensure your young plants get adequate water, especially in the beginning. We have a drip system in our food forest, but there are many different ways to keep your plants watered. If you decide to put your plants on drip, lay your line before covering your soil with mulch. Observe your first guild for a season. Don't be afraid to move things if you need to, and expand to the next guild based on what you learned from your first. Answer the call to create your food forest by imagining what it is you truly want to create, because all creations first begin in the mind. Then, draft a general design and pick one area to start your first guild. Select plants based on your vision for your garden and choose plants that are most likely to thrive in the conditions you can currently offer them. And then start planting. Through action and getting out of your head, you'll begin to tune into nature's wisdom, your intuition, and you'll start dreaming even bigger dreams. Remember, there is no rush or final destination. Your garden is simply an opportunity for you to grow, transform, and become who you truly are.